WCCS AM 1160 and FM 101.1. And on the telephone with us this morning, the Hot Stove League, and we certainly need that stove heated up. Greg Brown of the Pittsburgh Pirates joins us. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
I know that everybody else is looking forward to a white Christmas, but you're probably looking forward to about the second week of February in Bradenton, aren't you?
Just as the temperature dipped to about 31 in the last couple of days, and last night 19. I really started to get the itch to go down there. So yeah, it's been so mild up until the last couple of weeks in Western PA that I thought, well, heck, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get through Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays and after the New Year's, that's when it just flies. I mean, I'm already working on spring training stuff. The schedule's out, of course, the spring training and regular season schedule, but there's a lot to be done between now and opening day, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see what direction the Buccos are headed.
Yeah, and that's one of the puzzles that people are trying to put together after the winter meetings. The Pirates not very active, had the Rule 5 draft yesterday. I thought the most interesting thing coming out of the winter meetings was the Pirates in the minor league portion took a guy whose last name is Magnifico. That guy's got to be. He's
exactly.
got to be good.
It would be Magnifico if he ended up in the big leagues, which in these minor league phases of the draft, that's not a guarantee.
No, absolutely not. But it has become in the last few years that the winter meetings, particularly from the Pirates' standpoint, have not been nearly as important as what happens in the month of January when guys that don't have contracts yet begin to look around and maybe consider teams that they hadn't had on their radar before. And the Pirates have gotten some pretty good ball players in January in recent years.
I think it's a great point, and I think that is also true when it comes to the teams themselves who may not end up making any moves outside the Pirates in those winter meetings. And they want to make changes on their roster. They're looking to trade players. They're looking to trade for players. So Neil Huntington is very, very patient, and he'll field phone calls and trade suggestions, into February, into March at times. It was late when they got A.J. Burnett a handful of years ago. I think Francisco Liriano was right around Christmas when they signed him, and so Neil has constantly, when we've asked him about trying to make a splash during the winter meetings, and wouldn't that be good for the organization and for the fan base? He said, we do not want to win the December headlines. We're trying to win in April through September when it counts. And as tough as it is, because we get kind of antsy and itching for some news regarding the Pirates and hoping to improve the roster, he has to stay patient. He has to stick to his game plan, and I think moves will be made between now and when the team reports to spring training in the middle of February. To your point, they may not happen this week in the winter meetings, but I think a lot of the groundwork is laid during this week where they get a chance to talk. They may not actually make the deal, but I think deals are put in place this week, and maybe another player is in the works, and they finally have to agree on another guy, and that may not happen until January into February. But I do believe a lot of the groundwork is laid during this past week.
Boy, did we hear names thrown about this week: Garrett Cole to the Yankees, Andrew McCutchen somewhere, anywhere, Josh Harrison gone. All of these different guys, and the odds are some of those fellas are going to be considered for trades, but. There's a very good chance they're at least going to start the season as Pittsburgh Pirates. And, fans get attached to ball players, but the players themselves understand that it's a business. Certainly the teams understand that it's a business, and it does become about putting the best team on the field you can with the resources with which you have to work. And that has always been a bone of contention for Pirates fans, hasn't it?
It has, and it took a long time for me to be convinced that it's better for the organization to, if you can improve the roster, to either trade away players or, as is often the case, players leave via free agency, and as Neil Huntington has said time and time again, the days of baseball, or really almost in any sport of a player staying with one team his entire career, they're gone. The days of he points out Jorge Posada or Mariano Rivera or Derek Jeter of the Yankees. The days of a guy sticking with one team are gone. But it's not just baseball. I always point out the fact that Wayne Gretzky was traded from the Edmonton Oilers to the Los Angeles Kings. Nobody in the world back then, this is heck 30 years ago, would have thought that possible. For Steeler fans, Franco Harris did not end his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler. He ended up in Seattle. Jaromir Jagr didn't stay with the Penguins. I ask people this question when they bring up the Steelers. Name me who the featured running back of the Steelers was just 4 years ago. And I had this exercise with someone a few nights ago. A couple buddies and I were out, and they started talking about it. I said, name me the featured, and they couldn't come up with it. Huh. So it just is the way of the sports world now. Albert Pujols might be the best example. He was Mr. Cardinal in St. Louis, and they let him go via free agency. So it would not surprise me in the least. Garrett Cole, I think, is the hottest commodity right now because he's got 2 years left on his contract. And, if the Pirates want to strike, they strike while the fire is hot. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least if he were moved between now and opening day. It wouldn't surprise me if he stayed, but I would not be shocked at all if he were traded between now and opening day.
Greg Brown of the Pirates with us today. Greg, of course, has been broadcasting Pirates baseball for a long, long time. Greg, you, I'm sure, hear the stories about what happened in winter ball here or and this player or this prospect who looked really good in recent outings in the Arizona Fall League, whatever it happens to be. The Pirates have some interesting prospects, don't they? You think, first of all, of Austin Meadows, and you say to yourself, all right, is this guy ever going to make it here to Pittsburgh? And if he does, is he going to be what everybody says he's going to be? You hearing things about particular players in the minor league system that are pretty exciting?
Well, Austin Meadows comes to mind because we've seen him in the last couple of spring trainings, and unfortunately he's had some kind of freak injuries occur. And had he not been injured this past year, I think there would have been a good chance we'd have gotten a chance to see him play when Starling Marte was suspended. I would love to have seen that outfield alignment with Meadows. In my opinion, the one thing that's just holding him back, and he's still so young, hasn't even had a full year at AAA, but it's been just the injuries. But from what I've seen in spring training, and you can't tell what a guy's going to do for his career just based on some spring training games, but there are guys that kind of stand out, and he's absolutely one of them. He can play the outfield, he can hit. I think he's going to end up hitting for power, average. He just, as we like to say when we've seen him in the spring training, he looks like a man out there. He stands out. There have been some other, pitching-wise, Nick Kingham had Tommy John surgery a couple years ago. And Neil Huntington pointed out last year that he thought at some point in 2017 Kingham might help them. They ended up not really needing to bring Kingham up because they had enough in their system. But I can see Kingham very much a part of the 2018 campaign at some point. And there, Clayton Holmes, another pitcher. It's always been about pitching, trying to stockpile the pitching staff, and we go back to the Garrett Cole situation. It's one of the reasons why I think that they would not be so hesitant to trade him if they get the right names in a deal, because they feel like they have stockpiled strong pitching in the organization. But in terms of who we hear, first and foremost, it is position player wise, it's Austin Meadows. From a pitcher standpoint, it's Nick Kingham.
How about that? I would not have thrown Kingham into that mix at the top of the list. But it's true, the Pirates have some tremendous young arms, guys that are just learning to pitch, and Chad Kuhl.
I didn't want to Chad Kuhl's absolutely, and I'd forgotten Mitch Keller, but I'm in terms of Kingham, he's kind of like the most experienced guy who's just. If I were to be a betting man at some point during the season, if they needed someone to go up there and join the rotation. And let's say that Tyler Glasnow and Stephen Brault begin the year in the bullpen, and they want to keep those guys in the bullpen. Kingham, I believe, is the first guy. Anyway, you're right about Chad Cole.
Yeah, absolutely. They got some intriguing pitching prospects, and they might have to rely on them a little bit sooner in their careers than they had thought. The big question for Greg Brown is everything under the Brown family Christmas tree pirate logoed?
Not everything. We've become Vanderbilt fans because my son began his first year at college at Vanderbilt this year. So I notice a lot of Vanderbilt paraphernalia under the tree this year. We're Vanderbilt and Bucco fans here.
I always wonder if maybe you dip into Steve Blass's stash there and save some bobbleheads to put under the tree.
Well, Blass, for whatever reason, the Pirates feel this great obligation to hand him everything available in that closet. He's such a sneaky son of a gun. He ends up getting every bobblehead, every cap, every T-shirt, every jersey. So if anybody needs any last-minute Christmas shopping ideas, get a hold of Steve Blass. He'll take care of you.
The Steve Blass Vault. I love it.
Yes.
Greg Brown, thanks so much for spending some time talking baseball with us this morning. We appreciate it.
I look forward to doing it again. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
And Merry Christmas to you. It is Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank here on WCCS.